Hello again, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the InsideLowell Daily Pulse, the Friday, April 18th edition of the Daily Pulse. I'm your host, Teddy Panos, coming here from the WellPoint Studios here in beautiful, historic downtown Lowell, and excited on this Friday, this big, fun Friday, to be joined by my guest hosts for today's Daily Pulse. You know them as the Pod Squad. Michaela Hondas McCarthy on the left, Mike Bacigalupo on the right. From here on out, the rest of this podcast, they are Batch and the Hyphen.
All right. So, makes it easier.
Much shorter than
both of our names. Yeah, both of our names are pretty long.
They're mouthfuls. You know, you throw in Panagitopoulos and like all sorts of alphabet. We got the whole alphabet covered, I think.
What's your nickname?
They used to call me Alphabet.
Alphabet. because of your last name.
Because of all the letters in my last name. People in Drake weren't used to, short French names. They weren't used to the...
God.
Until the Greek wave came in.
Yeah, then the Greeks came in and all hell...
Renamed all the streets.
Exactly. How are you guys?
Good.
Good.
It's a beautiful Friday.
It really is great weather. Nice. It's a good Friday.
It's a good Friday.
It's a Friday.
Double Good Friday.
Double Good Friday. Plus, it is my son's 8th birthday today.
What a good Friday.
Happy birthday, Ari. If you're watching this, he goes through my phone and apparently...
Does he watch the...
Periodically, if he hears my voice, he'll start listening in. So,
oh, really?
Yeah, I have to worry about the discussions that I am having.
It's like, Mommy, why is Dad so angry all the time?
Why is he yelling?
Mom, he's pissing me off. I can't imagine what he's doing to the audience. But,
I thought Dad would be more woke.
We got lots to talk about today. Recap, some audience feedback to catch up on. And, of course, we will wrap it all up with a Honduras hug, as we do each Friday when you guys are on. First, let's thank our Daily Pulse sponsors. Ray Booten, he's a licensed realtor in Massachusetts and New Hampshire. He is a certified appraiser in both of those states as well. So if you're looking to buy or sell a home, business, or commercial property, Ray Booten is your man. And you can find him easily enough. realestaterayBooten.com is the web address. Thanks as well to our friends at WellPoint. WellPoint is the only health plan offering healthcare benefits exclusively to Massachusetts GIC members. At WellPoint, your whole health is their whole point. Thank you, WellPoint. Thank you, Ray. We got some other sponsors to thank, and we'll do that in a few minutes. But let's get into it, shall we, gang? What's the big news story of the week? I almost feel like it's Harvard versus Trump, right? Just the latest front in the war between Donald Trump and everybody else on the planet.
I do have a question first. I just thought of this. When it's double Easter, right?
Yeah.
Greek Easter and...
I know. They align.
By the way, I just heard it.
I'm glad you guys got the date right finally. You do it every 4 or 5 years, but it's good you finally have the right date.
Well, it's funny because I was at the coffee mill and somebody said...
Holding court?
I know.
Yeah. Somebody referred to it as Greek Easter and American Easter, which was kind of funny. And I'm like... What? But when they're both on the same day, is it worse for business for you?
It's a good question.
It's only because you have so many seats, only because you have so much oven space. So there comes a point where we have very limited oven space. We're trying to encourage people to come get some things on Saturday, things that reheat well, etc., just to kind of be able to serve the people that come in. But yes, it's basically another. We'll make more money than we would on the individual ones, but collectively, if you had one week and one another, or like last year, it was 5 weeks apart, which is
that's
ideal,
perfect.
because then the Lents don't really intertwine either.
So how does that happen though?
Use of calendars. I took me forever. I was in my 40s before I realized.
Yeah, I don't know.
So what the Orthodox do is they use, and I forget which calendar it is, but whatever calendar was around, I think the Caesarean calendar, that was around back in the day of Jesus, and Catholics use what I believe is the Gregorian calendar or whatever, but which is in use today. And you would think like, okay, well then use the calendar that's in place today. However, so last year, Greek Easter, as we call it, Orthodox Easter, was May 5th. Yeah. So we got Cinco de Mayo and Greek Easter on the same day.
I remember. And it was WrestleMania.
But Catholic Easter was like March 30th, which was before Passover, which is wrong because wasn't Jesus walking around and was arrested? He was there to celebrate Passover, wasn't he? Isn't that the whole point of like Palm Sunday and the whole lead up to everything.
Yeah, but you can't mix the religions, though. It just gets crazy.
Yeah. So you guys, so there
When
are
you
times,
think about it, it's actually great. It's crazy that there's so many different dates. We can't get it the dates right.
But there are times that the Catholics are celebrating Easter before Passover, which is completely historically incorrect.
Because everybody's using 3 different calendars.
Pretty much.
But I'm surprised that if all calendars are based on a 365-day year, because
they must not have been back in that day.
Sure, they were. I mean, they understood the
rotation.
When did they add? Yeah, but when did they add leap? Remember when did they add February 29th once every 4 years, leap year? So you do that over thousands of years. Now you're really screwing.
One must not be 300, or they must start counting from like a full moon or something. Like they must start.
But if no matter what you do, if it's based, because they're all based on either a lunar cycle or the solar cycle. But my point is that you'd think they wouldn't be that far off.
But if you take away one day every year, after 100 years, you've really pushed the calendar back 100 days.
But then how would they
imagine what the climate scientists were grappling with back then, right? You probably had summer in December.
No. But you would think that's how it works. But why would they? I could see if they were always a certain amount, there'd be a certain amount of time off, but they would never come back together.
No, well,
unless they loop around.
They loop around. So last year it was 5 weeks off, and now it's aligned. It's a build up, and then back to the beginning.
The majority of time it's one
on a
week
cycle.
difference.
Yeah.
But there are occasions where they're both the same, or they start 4 or 5 weeks apart. Whatever that number is.
It must rely on the lunar cycle then, because that would make sense if it's a build up, and now it's back.
Who's got Father Nick on speed dial?
I know.
Let's get a hold of Father Nick.
I bet he knows. I bet he knows.
Time's relative, right? Well, I think in the Gregorian, I think at one point they got rid of a bunch of days. I remember that. They had to jump. They had to make an adjustment, and it adjusted the Gregorian calendar.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, we should have Googled this before.
I know.
No, it's better than just talk and speculate.
Yeah, we were right. Easter dates differ because they're calculated using a formula that considers the lunar cycle and the vernal equinox, which is not the same as the Gregorian calendar used for everyday dates. Additionally, some Eastern Orthodox churches still adhere to the Julian calendar.
Julian, I called it the Caesarean calendar.
Yeah. So Easter,
that's where it came from.
That was the Caesarean section.
Yeah. So Easter, and so we were right. Easter is
the worst section to sit in. It's full of blood.
Easter is determined by the Paschal full moon, which is the first full moon after the vernal equinox. Yeah. So it's
Pascha.
Pascha.
The Greek word for Easter, Pascha.
Yeah.
Oh, all right.
See, it all comes back to the Greeks, baby. We're right. Let's just tell Batch we're right.
We are right. We were right.
But the vernal equinox is a sun thing, so
it's the first day. The vernal equinox is the first day of spring.
Right, but it's also the.
So the full moon last year must not have happened until either way after or right after the first day of spring, and then you start counting from there. So that makes sense.
So basically, you've got the Orthodox calendar, and then you have the unorthodox calendar.
and further compounded, because we're in the period now where you have the various Asian New Years, right, which are not the same. And I remember one time I got an explanation of this, but the Cambodian New Year is not the same as the Chinese New Year, so you have all sorts of different New Years then as well.
But the equinoxes are all measurable.
But there's another layer to this.
Oh,
there's another layer.
I didn't even kiss her.
Because that's funny. It's Good Friday. You can't make jokes like that on the Lord's Day. So because the actual date of the spring equinox can differ by a day or two, the Catholic Church created a fixed date of March 21st to define it, known as the ecclesiastical equinox. So they picked their own equinox date, and that doesn't.
Is that the first or second day of spring?
It depends. It can be March 21st or March 20th.
Because the vernal, because the
it depends on
solstice and the vernal equinox all vary by a couple days every year. That's like a real thing. Like the sun is here.
We learned something today.
I call that climate change.
It's not. It wouldn't work.
It's called the lunar cycle.
I remember you would try to explain. You would try to say that the reason the winter. I forget what you were saying, but it was like, well,
the winter doesn't start now till January.
And you said it was because of the calendar.
I'm telling you, the calendar's off. They need to add or subtract the day. They need to revisit this, just like they did thousands of years ago. Everything will go away. Climate change. We can do away with daylight savings and all of it at once.
No, the shortest day of the year and the longest day of the year are measurable, and they're always around the 20th or the 21st.
You know what'll solve this?
What?
A study at Harvard University.
Oh, geez.
Can somebody at Harvard University take some research money and study all these things that we just brought up right now? Oh, I forgot. They're never going to be able to do another study. An organization with a $53 billion profit cannot do studies anymore because Donald Trump's withholding a few grants from them.
I think they'll be fine. That's why they had the power to kind of stand up to him. They have such a huge endowment.
They have a $53 billion profit, which they call an endowment.
Well, no, they have they have a huge endowment. They have a huge endowment.
What's the difference between a profit and
I wish I had a huge endowment.
Does anybody know? Mother Nature didn't endow you. It's that Irish side of you, Bash. But so who's all right? Is anybody siding with Harvard on this besides the typical leftist politicians? And
I'm proud of them for standing up.
You're proud of them for standing up?
Yeah.
Okay. You think they're okay without getting their money? They'll survive? I
mean, if Harvard can't stand up to, I think they're leading by example, and
so why is everybody feeling so sorry for them? Why are they? I mean, I've seen almost as much sympathy for Harvard as I've seen for a gangbanging, wife-beating, sex trafficking illegal over the last 3 days.
I mean, I know you guys are already going to say to this, but like...
you know,
resigned to the fact.
I'm like, do I ask this question?
Where's Jack Mitchell when you need him to back you up?
Somebody here.
I'm obliged by contract, Jack, to get one reference to you in every pod squad.
Does the country benefit from having a university like Harvard?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So they deserve some sort of federal funding to keep that happening.
No.
Oh, no. Okay, give me the no.
Why they don't? So yes and no. I would think that if you were going to give federal money to schools, right, that it should go to state schools.
Or it should go to schools that only agree with you.
Well, no.
As the president.
It's but again, the studies should be. If you're talking about medical studies and you're talking about I don't think it's what they were asking. It's definitely what do you call it? There's definitely a lean to the university, right? Like Harvard definitely leans.
95% of the donations that come from their staff and whatever go to one party.
Yeah, I mean, you could make the argument that there should be balance, right? And there's not necessarily balance. I think that's.
Well, the balance is you decide to go to Harvard or not, or you decide to teach at Harvard.
I'm saying what the federal government decides where they should spend their money. I would think that it should just be. I would just say the money should go to public schools, state schools.
That's an interesting thought.
Like why we and
give it to the University of Massachusetts system. Give it to the community college system.
The majority of the money goes to public universities. Mm-hmm. It's about 35% goes to private universities, like of the grants, right? But when you look at the dollar amounts, the private universities with big endowments have the bigger R&D, like they're the biggest R&D schools, right? So, and a lot of it's medical, but like, can the federal government say, hey, you have to meet these standards, and they're not meeting the standards? And I think
not take a 60-some-odd% commission off the top.
So what
before the money even goes into the research.
So I'm trying to find what were the grants. So they're freezing $2.2 billion in grants.
Yeah. Do we know what those grants were studying?
So that's what I'm asking. That's the question.
Was it science, medicine, or was it DEI, gender ideology, and that kind of stuff, which I'm going to guess is where the Trump administration was heading. But there's another layer to this, and that's why I'm kind of torn. First of all, I admire any organization that under the threat from a government of withholding gives them the middle finger and says, go ahead.
Yeah,
we're going to keep
we don't
doing
need you.
what we're doing. I admire that, whether it's the Lowell Volk.
So we agree.
Whether it's the Lowell Volk saying, we're not doing a lottery, Governor Healy. Whether it's a city or a town saying, we're not doing MBTA zoning. We don't care. Withhold all the money you want and then follow through with it. I'm not sure that's a smart strategy, given how much people are dependent now on Big Brother to fund them. But I can kind of admire that. But there's another factor to this. Harvard is creating an ideology and a movement, and has over the last several decades, that quite frankly has gotten, I'm going to say it, anti-Semitic. And I'm just going to use this example. So like the student protests, because I know you want to talk about student protests, but everyone's like, well, they're just protesting for peace. They're just doing this and that in Palestine and whatever, pick whatever the cause is. But when you protest, I love free speech. Don't block anybody from speaking because they disagree with you. But when that disagreement starts to interfere with somebody else's rights, for instance, Jewish students walking into a building, walking into a classroom, when that starts to become threatening, when that starts to promote, I'm going to call it anti-Semitic behavior, doesn't the government have a responsibility to step in? And I cite the example of, what if there were a bunch of right-wing neo-Nazi nuts walking around Tufts University, where this professor was quote-unquote abducted from, or Harvard, and they were protesting, saying, we need to bring back slavery. We need to go back to Jim Crow. We need to go back for whatever.
That's not protesting people getting killed. That's not protesting. That you can't. That is a not false equivalency.
It's not, because they're
protesting a war. Like, they're protesting a war and innocent people getting killed in Palestine.
But they're also blocking people from entry into a school, into a building.
No, I see where you're going with that.
Isn't that why Eisenhower sent troops into high schools in the 50s and whatnot? Didn't we already play this battle out? That
they can protest without blocking.
Correct.
Without blocking people.
Yeah, and not all the protesters are blocking Jewish students from going to class. I don't like. I know that that's not what's happening.
Not everybody, but there are as part of these protests that's happening. They're blocking access to buildings.
They're blocking, but not just for Jewish students. Okay. Not for all students.
Correct.
They're not targeting Jewish people.
So if I block a hall where I know a lot of African American or Hispanic students go, or let's use another example that's kind of trendy these days, gay, transgender people. If I'm doing an action, a protest targeted at some of these different organizations, doesn't the government have a responsibility to step in and protect these organizations? In academia, you would 110%, Harvard and every other academic institution would lose their minds if there were protests against certain movements out there, right? Why is it a little different when it comes to the Jewish people?
Oh, you know why.
I just want to put that out there. Why is it okay to, dare I say, potentially discriminate against Jews, where even the hint of discrimination against another group in academia makes people lose their minds?
But I find it too big of a jump to say that students protesting a war, which we've been doing. The Vietnam War had tons of protests, which is something that's been repeated throughout history on college campuses. They're protesting innocent lives being taken and our involvement in sending funding over to Netanyahu. That is different than targeting Jewish students for being Jewish. I think you're making that jump, and I don't think that's correct.
I think it's 100% about Jewish students.
There are certain people in those movements, and I agree. There's probably people who think like you that I think the war is wrong. Whatever, we need to stop.
I think 90% of the kids that are there think that way. I don't think they're going after Jewish.
But what are the organizers thinking and saying behind the scenes as they gather people like you into this protest?
There are Jewish students that are part of the protest.
There are.
So explain to me that.
Well, there's a lot of like people with Irish heritage that hate their Irish heritage. I mean, there's a lot of there's a lot of self-loathing people out there. But I mean, I think,
Come on, Batch.
I think that like if it was about war, then they'd be you could be protesting about Palestine and the Ukraine, or there's a
no, that's a different. It's a completely different.
Why are we protesting? There's slaughters going on in Africa, in Nigeria. There's slaughters of Christians. Hell, in South Africa, there's now slaughters of white people. You're getting the reverse situation of what we had 30, 40 years ago. Yemen, there's slaughters going on all over the world.
And those should also be.
Why are United States colleges and universities the breeding grounds for protests against one particular conflict, but no others?
Anti-Semitism.
And that's the part I can't get comfortable with. I think we're seeing a time when anti-Semitism is coming back, and it's being sponsored, flamed, and taught at colleges and universities in the United States of America. And I think that's wrong. Why aren't we protesting?
To say that anti-Semitism is being taught in universities? What?
So who are some of these people who are being deported? Who are some of these people who are having their green cards being pulled? They're people who walk around putting up signs that say "From the river to the sea." There's no. You can excuse anybody sitting on protesting on a college campus against a war, but you can protest without a sign that says "From the river to the sea," and then proudly stand in front of it. If you were at a protest that had that sign, would you be anywhere near that sign? You understand the meaning of it, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you can't control who's going to stand with what sign where in a protest full of hundreds of people with signs. Like, you can be part of a movement and say, I'm here because I don't agree with what's happening. And that's what this protest.
But from the river to the sea is not protesting the war. It's not ending the war that got launched on October 7th. From the river to the sea is a thing that goes back decades upon decades. Why is that there? Same thing as if I was at a rally that had members of the Ku Klux Klan there, I'd be wise enough to leave that rally and at least try to chase away the people who are bastardizing the message of my anti-war rally.
I agree with that.
With chants of, what they're chanting on these college campuses. That's, to me, where the mistake is coming in with these colleges and universities, not stepping up to challenge it. I'm not sure what they're afraid of. To me, this will be the end of academia. If they don't, if Harvard, Columbia, Tufts, and the rest of these universities don't wise up, I think it's going to be the end of the college movement.
That would be really sad to me.
I mean, you need first of all, most of the protests aren't, of all the protests, it's not all of them are on college campuses. The majority of them are off college campuses. But when you look at college protests over the years, they're really not, I mean, I don't worry about them that much because they're really not that effective, right? I mean, you look at the movements in the 70s, and those people turned into the yuppies, right? And then you look at the movements in the 80s that were about apartheid, and those people that grew up, they could care less about what's going on in the world. Like, it's a phase people go through. They grow out of it, But
I would think the protests in the 60s and 70s helped hasten the end of the Vietnam War. I think they turned people's attention. Made it very unpopular, and I think we got out of there faster than we would have had it not been those protests.
But you got to remember, it wasn't just the colleges; it was across it was really like a national thing. I don't think it started this. I mean, the other thing too is like you had the news broadcasting like what was really going on, which that doesn't happen anymore. Like they don't allow. So
that's a big part of it.
Right. I mean, like the news used to broadcast what's going on, like kind of unbiased. Now, like during the last couple of conflicts in Iraq or whatever, like they weren't allowed as embedded as they used to be. They don't really show. They don't have the same access they used to be because the military learned you can't let people report what's going on.
Don't let the reporters report.
Yeah. So I mean, I look at it and I mean, should there be some control exerted by the universities? Yeah, but you should never ever stop them from happening. It's just you got to weed out like what's going on. And frankly, yeah, of course, I think there's absolutely some justification for some of these deportations of some of the protesters. I mean, everybody knows that the best way to get things going in a wrong direction is you insert people to make things go bad.
Hijacks.
Like if you look at the left, right? Some of the left protests, like in what was it? Who are those people? Antifa or whatever, right? They're famous for going into like a peaceful protest and turning stuff up, right? And turning into anarchy, right? And then,
or like shipping pallets of bricks into the middle of a protest.
yeah, I mean, and that undermines
or inviting people to go in for a tour of the Capitol building on January 6th.
There's a lot, like there's a lot. And listen, the CIA, the FBI, like other nations, security agencies, whatever you want to call them, like getting protests to go one way or the other is a very age-old technique that's used. And so I think the universities do have a little bit of responsibility to kind of keep these things controlled. I think they've failed quite a bit. I think that, but my question though is, why would a university like Harvard allow this kind of stuff to happen, right?
Yeah, part of that, but you're just contradicting yourself, because you're saying protests should be allowed to happen on college campuses. This is an age-old.
Well, the age-old thing is inserting people to turn them violent. No,
you said that protesting on college campuses is something, it's like a phase, it's something people grow up.
No, I'm not saying they shouldn't.
But now you're saying that Harvard has a responsibility to step in on these protests and stop them from happening.
No, I'm saying they should keep them controlled.
Tomato.
No, you don't allow, you can protest against,
as long as you're within the whole thing of a protest is to not be controlled, but what you can and cannot say in protest. That's the whole point of a protest. For the federal, and I will say, for the federal, deportations of students is one thing, and I completely have my stance on that, which will probably disagree with your stance on that. But the move to withhold federal funding from an American university to somehow appease maybe a foreign interest, in my opinion, sets a very dangerous precedent and makes us look weak as a country when our president Trump has ran, I will not back down, America first. How is that putting America first? Withholding American funding from a huge university that it's it's like an American landmark historic. You're withholding federal funding with based on a foreign interest's influence is what I'm saying.
I think I agree with Michaela. I've always been of the mind, if you've got a political or an ideological opposite or enemy, and you know that you're right, or you strongly think that you're right and they're wrong, I think the best thing you can do is let them keep talking. There's a part of me that says, let them keep going. Let them keep going, because truths are revealed in this. They'll eventually get comfortable enough and arrogant enough, the real anti-Semites in this country, that they'll expose themselves. I think they're exposing themselves. For years, I heard that the right-wing nuts, conservative neo-Nazis, they were the true anti-Semites. I've been labeled that. For years, this was the mantra of left-leaning media, leftist ideology. They told everybody, you shave your head, you're a skinhead, you're a neo-Nazi. We're the people of love, we're the people of peace. I think October 7th, 2003 has exposed the real anti-Semites.
I don't think you can even put them in the same. You can't put those people in the same category.
I think you can't separate them.
I think you can. And again, I will point to the German Democratic Socialist, the German Nationalist Socialist Party, as left-wing as you're going to get. They're now known as the Nazis.
What?
The history repeats itself. You see it. History repeats itself.
Well, the divide, I think, is what's crazy.
These are people protesting for against innocent people being killed. That's sure. It's fine.
Did they get out and protest on October 8th, by the way?
Look,
within a week, so you want to talk about innocent people being protested, so we can talk about innocent people get killed in a bombing run, right? Let's forget for a moment whether there's a military base under the hospital, under the school, or whatever. But, war happens. When the Germans blitzkrieged the world, innocent people died. When the Allies started blitzkrieging Nazi Germany, that was innocent people died. That's war. Innocent people died in Pearl Harbor. That's just war. Right. What was October 7th? Was that an attack on a military installation?
No.
If Hamas ordered an attack on a military base, okay. A concert. places where a mother, father, and their 3 kids were living, one of them an infant. And now you take them and you didn't just take them as prisoners of war. You brutally murdered, slaughtered, raped. What?
But
where are the health of protests of that? Isn't that violence too?
Yeah, I agree. But the United States is not actively funding from our federal budget the leaders of that movement, and it's not.
We are through USAID.
Fine, but it's not openly hosting the leader of that movement at the White House having lunch. There's a difference. That's what these people are protesting.
Well, the leader of the one country hasn't been deemed the leader of a terrorist organization. Hamas has been deemed a terrorist organization.
By the United States. I mean, that's within the United States' control. They could do, but they wouldn't do that. They would never do that for a lot of. They would not deem Netanyahu the leader of it, because
he's not a terrorist.
Well, do we have proof that part of the Israeli military operation was going in and abducting families of 5, or did they intentionally go to a Palestinian concert and start abducting and killing people there? There's a difference. War is awful, but there's a difference between the tactics.
I get it.
The sides are using.
I get it, but what you're saying about. I lost my train of thought. What you're saying about, I lost it, but
it'll come to you. We'll trigger you.
No, what you're saying about comparing Nazis, like nationalist swastika skinhead Nazis in this country, and comparing them to the people who are protesting on college campuses on the left, those are not that you cannot compare those two things.
I think there's a lot of similarities. I think you get so far right and so far left that you unite in the middle in your hatred of Jewish people. Historically, I think that's happened.
I think you've been propagandized to think that.
Maybe. Isn't it in someone's? I wasn't propagandized at Harvard University.
But isn't it in someone's best interest to have you believe that? Someone being
Well, one of the biggest tropes of anti-Semitism is that the Jews control everything, right? That everything's done, that the world, they're the ones behind what we're doing. I mean, that's kind of,
So the fastest way to bring peace is to recognize the right for each side to have an existence and some land of their own that they can govern. Correct?
Right.
Okay. Has the state of Israel, the enemy in some people's minds, has the state of Israel acknowledged the right of Arab countries, the legitimacy of the Egyptian government, Jordanian government, Syrian government, Iranian, Iraq, whatever? Mm-hmm. There's a legitimacy. Have certain Arab states, and I won't put the Palestinians in there because they're not their own state. Never have been, by the way. All these Arab countries.
They're supposed to live together. They're supposed to live together, shared occupation of that.
Yes, but if your mindset is that the Jewish people do not have the right to Israel anymore, that's ours, we're taking it one way or the other, from the river to the sea, we'll drive them out, then you're never going to find peace.
I agree.
You have to, at some point, you have to acknowledge the right of Israel to exist.
I agree.
Okay, so until the Palestinian government does, maybe there are Palestinian people who do acknowledge that, but until they elect or put in place a government through elections or through a revolution that acknowledges that, they will never find peace.
I agree.
Egypt did it and found peace with Israel.
I agree. And the whole basis is basically that there should be a way to weed out the terrorist organization that Hamas without completely leveling and causing all of this tumult, and just what they're doing is leveling they're leveling whole sections, and there has to be a way to
Saudi
not
Arabia
do that.
will rebuild it now.
Well, I mean, that's a land grab.
Doing
I mean, are they doing this for a land grab? I don't know. They've already released those AI ads for, hey, we're going to rebuild. And don't a lot of people stand to gain from that?
Well, maybe. I have to wonder why so many Arab countries, so much Arab land, all these centuries, they couldn't find a home for the Palestinians? Because prior to the formation of Israel in 1948, there was no Palestine.
That was their home. That was where they were living.
It wasn't their country. They didn't govern themselves.
But the whole agreement. I mean, look, there are a lot more qualified people to talk about this than me. I'll just say that.
Well, the Brits really screwed it up way back in the day.
They screwed up a lot of stuff.
They sure did. They set. This is all. By the way, this is all this whole thing has been a setup from the beginning. putting creating the state of Israel, when they did it, how they did it, wasn't done very well, and it's just been, it was kind of inevitable the way everything shook out. Like there was a lot of opportunities to do things better over.
Yeah, they'd hope people who had been warring for centuries would suddenly be able to get along.
Yeah.
But there is hope. I've seen it. I've lived through it.
No,
1979, the Camp David Accords. I watched it. In 25 years, Israel and Egypt had been at war on 4 different occasions, 4 times in 25 years.
And when the PLO
do the math now, it's been 45 years since 1979, and Israel and Egypt have not been to war. So.
Well, and there was progress when the PLO was really, I forget the guy's name.
Yasser Arafat?
Yeah, he did he came around eventually. He
went from terrorist to trying to forge a peace.
But you know what the difference? And
he got a bullet to the head.
The difference was, he did. But it's that whole move away from like secular society and moving into a more religious zealot kind of way of doing, like the combination of religion and government is never a good idea, and that's kind of what's going on a lot right now, right? Like radical Islamism is not conducive to world peace and governing, just like radical any kind of religion isn't, And I will say in Israel, there's been a little bit of a movement towards radicalization, so it's kind of like
both subset.
Yeah, it's dangerous.
It's not
like,
all the people.
Like the Bible thumpers in this country scare the hell out of me. Like it's anytime you have religious, like super religious zealotism involved with government, bad idea. Church and state separation. That's how you make things work.
All right, we're here on this
terrible Good Friday message.
It's a Good Friday material. We're here with the Pod Squad. We're going to get back to our discussion. Got a bunch of stuff to talk about. And, of course, the Pod Squad tradition of the Hondros hug. First, let's thank our Daily Pulse sponsors, Ray Booten, licensed realtor, Massachusetts and New Hampshire, certified appraiser in both states as well. Contact him at realestaterayBooten.com. Thanks as well to our friends at WellPoint. At WellPoint, your whole health is their whole point. Washington Savings Bank, banking that feels like home. Make the switch now to Washington Savings Bank. TMI Properties, quality and value at every price point. Find your perfect space with TMI. Mahoney Oil, providing warmth and protection to Greater Lowell and Southern New Hampshire since 1925. The Greater Lowell Community Foundation, improving the quality of life in Greater Lowell through strategic, impactful philanthropy. Francis C. Preventure Insurance, insuring your most valuable assets since 1982. And by the Massachusetts Pirates, who bring all the hard-hitting action and excitement of arena football to the Mill City. We got to organize our Inside Lowell night at the Pirates. We got to get that out. We're targeting the Thursday game, right?
Oh, yeah.
The Thursday night game?
Yes.
All right, right before Memorial Day weekend. Then I think we'll come in the next morning and talk about it.
Okay.
Yeah, you guys told me you guys can't come in. Your next day is supposed to be May 2nd, but you can't come in on May 2nd, right? You're going to, what is it, the Owl Diner golf tournament or something?
No, not quite.
No, a New England falconry experience in I think it's Woodstock, Vermont.
Oh, like the owl, the bird, not the Owl Diner. I thought you guys had a charity golf tournament to go to.
You hold out your hand and they land on your hand. It's going to be
awesome.
All right. I can almost understand why you're there.
Yeah.
How the bleep did you drag this one?
He loves birds.
I'm a secret bird nerder.
He loves birds. Are you kidding? He knows birds more about birds than I do.
Yeah.
Get out of here.
I must.
I mean, I know you're kind of a secret nature guy with your ice fishing and living on the lake and whatnot, but birds?
Yeah.
So you're going to stand out there in the middle of an open field.
It's going to be the best.
With birds that hunt for a living.
Raptors.
And can claw you to death.
Listen, me versus an owl, I like my chances.
That's probably a horrible way to die.
What if that owl thinks I can eat for a month off of this?
Listen, there is no way. All you got to do is protect my eyes and I'm all set.
So how does it work? You don't just walk out there and put the thing on your arm.
They like teach you about what to do, and they're like trained, and so I don't know. I just like saw the cool video online. I was like, I got to do this.
And I don't think it's BYOM. I don't think we have to bring our own mice.
No.
Yeah. How do they encourage the?
You put a little piece of.
You put some food in your hand.
Well, meat, yeah, and they come down. And
we'll let you know how it works.
It's gonna be awesome.
So they've been trained when they see a human walk out on the field, they follow and know that eventually
we're gonna have the people there with us that do this.
Plus, we generally at least once a year, Michaela and I go on like a nature drive
trip.
or whatever. Like we did. What was it? 𝐾𝐚𝐢𝐥𝐲 one year.
Yep. Yep.
We do Arcadia a couple times.
Yep.
And we're like, we got to go to Vermont. Like, we never go to Vermont.
Yeah, and I saw it, and I know he likes birds, so I was like, Batch will do this with me.
I know, it's a crazy thing you never think I would do, but...
Just when you think you've seen the full Batch experience, you just peel another layer.
It's true.
Do you want to know how bad this is? I'll share this weird secret. Once a year in the winter, right, I go to Rockland. And there's
Rockland Trust. Or do you have an account there already?
You mean U.S. Bank, whatever it is? No,
That's true.
by the way, if you, yeah, what did I say? Rockport. I go to Rockport.
Oh, Rockport, not
Rockport.
Rockland. Okay.
And there's these ducks that fly down from the Arctic, and you can only see them in a couple places, like on the coast, and they're called harlequin ducks, and they're blue, and they're these tiny little
you
things.
told me about these.
And they're there like for a couple of weeks, and so I go out there in February, and I go check them out, drive out there. Go to the spot, get the binoculars out, see him, and then I go home.
I love that.
Who knew there was a moonbat side to that?
Oh,
I knew he had a little liberal bent to him, but that's like outright tree hugger.
Yeah,
I know.
moonbat.
He's
I'll tell
very
you what,
connected
though.
to nature.
That explains why you won't come around on the climate change thing to my
absolutely.
thinking. All right.
Yeah, because he cares about nature.
And I
nature.
used to be a little, I didn't talk about it much to people until one day about 10 years ago, I drove out to Plum Island. And I was looking for a snowy owl, and there was a bunch of guys, and they were from. I was like, I pull in, and they're all in there like their Bruins shirts, and they looked like they were.
Were they hunting the birds?
Well, they just looked like regular. They were just regular guys, thick, like regular Boston accents, whatever. And I was like, "What are you guys doing?" And they're like, snowy owls out there, blah blah blah.
I love
and they were
that.
and they were like, after that, they were going to watch
that.
the Bruins. Like, they were just regular guys, and I'm like, oh, look at this. It's like normal people that do this. It's not all because there's a lot of DBs out there with their
What's DB's
douchebags? Yeah, like especially when you.
I didn't know it was a bird term.
No, like when you go to Concord, right? Like I got told to wear a mask outside once, and I'm like, no, like, and they have like you can tell like the jerk ones or whatever, and then there's the regular ones. And they're wicked friendly, and they're nice people. And those are the ones I'm like, oh, look at this, as regular people. And so now I'm not ashamed anymore.
Well, you should not
ashamed, but like you don't want to.
You don't want to cover it up. And I would say for any like regular guy out there, like if you're single or on the dating apps, whatever, if like that's your jam, like you should own, like that's a very attractive quality.
I wouldn't put that on a date now.
They say that if you walk a dog through a park or a very public space, that women, it's a good pickup tool for a guy. Is catching owls and falcons on your arm? Is that a
or like looking at birds or like that is a good. It shows you like your sensitive side. It shows. I would encourage that if you're,
I don't know, it's sensitive. It's just kind of like, I got started because I was out fishing one day and there's all this stuff around that I never seen. I'm like, what the hell is that? Like, what are these yellow birds bump? Like, because I didn't see them in Lowell. The only kind of birds I saw in Lowell were pigeons and Lowell jellyfish. The plastic bags up in the trees. That was about it.
The Lowell jellyfish.
And then a bunch of needlefish.
Those are hummingbirds. We call those hummingbirds.
Hey, speaking of nature, since we last had the pod squad here, the Sustainability Summit took place. Wildly successful. I saw the photo. You had basically every political candidate.
Yeah, there's a lot of people there.
I was so happy at the turnout, and like it really demonstrated. I owe you a write up where we like name everybody that was there and like put the pictures up, but to give everybody credit for showing up. But a lot of people came out to show that this is important to them and to kind of like communicate with everybody, share ideas. So it was a really wonderful summit. We gave out the awards. It was a really awesome time. And it was a very good discussion. And everybody brought something different. Like Eric Gittier brought like the tree ordinance thing to talk about. Like he was so prepared for everything. And like, I don't know, just a great discussion.
Was there an arborist there?
Yeah, well, there was Brian. He made the awards. He helped make the awards.
So I didn't really understand the whole arborist thing years ago until I had Jane Calvin from I don't know if she's still around.
Oh, she's still
Parks and Conservation Trust. So whitewater rafting kicks off this weekend.
Oh, we got to do that too.
I'm never doing that again.
If anybody wants to go, there's special media. I can get you guys out there.
I want to go.
I would recommend.
Yes.
All right, let me get you the info quickly.
I am so glad I went. I'm so glad I did it. I will never do it again. It was terrifying.
I remember we did a live radio broadcast with wireless Mike.
No, you didn't.
Oh, really?
He and Bernice Corpuz, they went out there and they did and Ryan Johnston did the play-by-play. And
No
he
way.
literally called them like the all of them capsizing out of the raft
Stop.
and going.
Was
into
it
the cockpit.
good?
Yeah, it was great radio.
If anybody wants to
That's
do it
awesome.
with me, I'll do the live broadcast on it.
That'd be a great idea.
I'll do it.
It is cool. It's worth
coming.
doing. It's
When did you do it?
I was like, I was still married. It was that long ago. It was probably.
So
no.
You were trying to find something more miserable.
No, I was out.
He
I
was hoping to capsize.
No, that was during. Please
don't arrest
Take
me if I go under.
Take me.
No, that was during the free batch years. That was 2009 or 2008. But it was awesome. But I'm like, I'm glad I did it. Don't need to do it again.
That would just once, right?
Yeah, it's like I can imagine like if I ever went parachuting, I would just do it the one time. But so when I worked with Jane years ago, because we shared an office when I ran Spindle City at the Lowell plant, I remember she was telling me like how if you cut a tree, like you can't just trim a tree. You got to do it right, or the thing dies.
Yes.
And so you need like
you can't just can't just behead all the trees.
Yeah, you got to cut it here. You got to do like it's way more than what you'd ever expect.
I wish I knew that before I started trimming the one in front of my yard.
No, you end up killing the things. You don't even know it.
You can Google how to do it. Like you
Really?
can. Well, I mean, having an arborist is the ideal scenario, but like if you care and it's a tree in your yard, you can
Plus, the arborist will tell
consult someone.
The arborist will tell you what trees you can plant that aren't going to ruin the sidewalks.
Yeah.
And you want to go like there's a bunch of stuff that you never would think of.
He could say, or he or she could say, is the tree dead? Is the tree savable? Do you have to get rid of all the trees on Inland Street, all those beautiful old 100-year oaks or whatever they were? But
worth it.
yeah.
It saves money in the end.
Yeah.
All right, let's get to some audience feedback, shall we?
Yes.
The past week has seen some discussion. Jose from Jose Cervantes, candidate for Lowell City Council in the Acre neighborhood. We were talking about the fact somebody was wondering whether he wears cowboy boots.
I can't
We talked
imagine.
about how Tom Golden the city manager loves to wear cowboy boots.
Wait, does he?
What?
Yeah, Tom Golden loves cowboy boots.
That's awesome. I love cowboy boots.
I didn't know that.
Yep, and John Dakota, they're cowboy boot fans. So the question.
I'm so curious. Is there a dance hall somewhere that I don't know about? Like where are we going?
Golden went to some retreat in like Idaho or Wyoming last year. It was
I gotta talk to him about that.
Photo of him on a horse with cowboy boots.
That's
on.
amazing.
Was John Dakota riding behind him?
No, John went to a different one.
That's very Brokeback Mountain.
That's what I'm thinking right now.
I can't quit you. Jose said,
Talking about pom-poms.
Timberlands and work boots are the closest things to cowboy boots for me. I am Mexican, but not that Mexican. He writes, I've spoken to manager Golden about his love of cowboy boots. Then he adds, the line has become too blurred between public servants and politicians. I want to get elected to be a voice for the people, not to add another feather to my hat. So that was from Jose, but he did answer the question about whether he wears cowboy boots because he wears the cowboy hat. Every picture you see of him, he's got that giant cowboy hat.
Good branding.
I gotta meet him at some point.
I'm dubbing him the urban cowboy.
Yeah.
I like that.
So,
Seems like an interesting guy.
I've talked to him a few times. He's
we had a discussion based on the city.
Wait, he's citywide? I forget.
He's running in the Acre against Paul Ratayem, District 7, I believe. Yeah. We were talking with Bill Samaras on Tuesday, but also the City Council Subcommittee meeting, Parks Board, had a discussion about changing the fees and tournaments that take over Lowell's Field.
Oh, yeah.
So there's a lot of talk about McPherson Park in Centerville. Your hood there, buddy. Laura from Lowell says, regarding the tournaments in Centerville, parking is also a gigantic issue. Every weekend there's a tournament there. Not only is it unsafe at times, but also it prohibits residents who live on surrounding streets from parking on the street. If you want to host a cookout in the summer, think again. Your friends will have nowhere to park. Or for residents to come and use the park or the swimming pool. It's a huge issue for them.
I just had a great idea.
Tell us.
I'm going to get a permit for every weekend in the summer at the res.
Too late.
Someone's got it already.
And then I'm going to
subleasing it to Taiwan.
And then I'm going to start a potty planning business and charge thousands of dollars to use the top of the res, and I will have complete control over it.
Is there a bathroom up there? And if there is, who has the key?
Can you build one? How much does it take to build a bathroom?
I'm going to put a urinal in the little house by the res, and I'll have the key, and people can pee in there. And then
you can no longer go pee in the apple orchard trees.
No, that's all.
Those are all gone now.
But I mean,
stumps.
But I don't think there's anything. So this is my whole takeaway. Like what they're doing. That I forget the guy's name, but like it's legal. Like there's no stopgap to be able to pull a permit and then transfer that permit and charge a bunch of money, right? So I think it's fixable.
You can put a limit on how many weekends you can, or how many days you can.
Yeah, but the idea that you can pull a permit and then
be a middleman.
Be a middleman, like no, you can't. That's it's
so it's basically what you would need against that is no subleasing, basically like a no sublease agreement. If you're pulling the permit, it's your
you have
event.
to, it's for you. Yeah. By the way,
ways to work around that though. You can become the commissioner of the league or the tournament, the travel team or travel league that you're leasing the tournament.
Well, I wouldn't let any of these like all these silly like AAU and like pay for play. I mean, I know.
They're providing sports programs for children.
No, it's unregulated. It's a money grab. It's one of the most destroying,
an incredible money.
Whether it's softball,
is
baseball.
it really?
We were at a facility in Fitchburg last Sunday. That I'm telling you, there were 15 to 20 basketball courts there, if there were one, and they were all occupied. People playing all the time, and then they charged us. So not only did you pay for your kid to play on these teams, which was a small amount, but now you got to pay. It's $17 for a one-day pass or $27 for the weekend pass.
Yeah, it's
every freaking weekend.
Okay,
it's insane. It's an insane money maker for these places,
and they're terrible at developing talent. They're none of the coaches are. There's no vetting. There's no.
It doesn't matter. It's for kids to get outside and have fun and compete against each other.
It's a toxic culture, like especially we gotta have Jimmy Barrett Oakland here to talk about AAU. But whether it's baseball or softball, I don't know about lacrosse. If there's any of that yet?
That'll happen there. It'll happen everywhere.
But they're just even gymnastics kind of. Well, gymnastics thing is different because you don't really.
What should the kids be doing instead? Sitting inside on their phones?
You do like the
playing in your neighborhood league.
Well, your neighborhood league, your school league.
Because all these kids eventually end up like not playing for their high schools. They're starting to get actively recruited. And
I see what you're saying. So you're saying it's cannibalizing local sports.
To cannibalize local sports.
And they think it's elite, but what it really is it's a scam.
And some of the coaches have spoken out against it, saying, like used to be you'd practice 4 or 5 days a week, or the higher level you got 2 or 3 in the younger levels, and then you'd play a game or 2 on the weekend. Now you're practicing once a week and playing 6 games or so.
Because that's where they make the money.
On the weekend, because that's where the money is made. So you're not really developing skills.
This is a story.
These kids are getting beat up. Yeah, we should bring Jimmy Baradoka in here.
You should do like a spotlight on this.
Yeah, because I think basketball is really where it started, but you see it in baseball now. You see it in, if anybody still plays baseball, but baseball and softball. I think the women's side of it, soccer. Oh, well, I shouldn't, especially soccer. Like there's a lot of these.
Does the Lowell Youth Soccer Association? That's like a city.
I think that's a citywide.
That's a city thing, yeah.
Which again is okay.
But if they have control of their own fields, then they should have control over how much they're subleasing out to these other organizations.
So that's what the city council and the parks board is starting to kind of try to get a handle on. So they're talking about how in Lowell you could rent an entire baseball field for an entire day for $150. In Worcester, it's $1,500. If you want one of the Worcester synthetic fields,
Worcester's smart.
$2,250.
Worcester's
and
smart.
then they tack on trash fees, cleanup fees, bathroom fees.
Worcester's smart.
And I'm guessing the city of Worcester has the key to every bathroom.
Yeah.
Which in Lowell wasn't the case up until a week or so ago. If you get a chance, by the way, it's one of the shortest meetings you'll see. It's only an hour. But it was good.
I gotta go back.
Counselors were cross-examining this one guy.
I gotta watch that. I love this.
And then in the end there was some talk. City Council Corey Robinson talked a little bit about how hey, this guy's brought a lot of people into the neighborhoods. He's worked hard. He's maintaining parks and whatnot.
He's maintaining the parks.
He does a lot of cleanup and he cleans up the concession stands and the bathrooms.
If he's cleaning the parks, if he has a contract to keep the parks clean, then fine.
I don't think he has a contract.
Well, then it's just an unspoken.
He's doing volunteer stuff. But that's what it highlighted the need for, like, okay, these are the concrete rules. This is what it will cost. And get ready, because the city of Lowell is about to up its fees tremendously.
Well, they should, because you know what? It all goes into the same, but why are we all paying higher taxes when someone's making money hand over fist by being a middleman for renting?
And that's what Councilor 𝐏𝐿𝐥𝐿 said. He's like, hey, listen, we just put $10 million into these parks. It's like, maybe some of these organizations making money off them can help us maintain them.
It's city property.
Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So Chin Long Deep says, one of our most frequent commenters, says, commenting on the whole batch of school lunch motions. Did you see that on the school committee meeting? There were 3 different school lunch motions. One about getting rid of pizza.
Oh, come on.
And putting in more ethnic foods. 2, having bigger portions based on what grade you're in. Saying that in the middle schools, the 8th graders and 5th graders don't have the same appetite. And then there was a discussion about lengthening the lunch period.
Why is that on the
10 or 15 minutes.
Is that school committee?
School committee.
Okay.
Yeah, this was a school committee meeting. So
did anybody mention fire in Aramac?
no, because nobody else could step in and feed 14,000 students.
They used to do it themselves.
Yeah, they
Get rid of
did.
pizza? No, you can't get rid of pizza.
That would be wildly unpopular. I mean, do you
It's
remember
dumb.
being in school and being like, I love pizza day?
That was the day you look forward to.
Yeah.
But there were some parents saying, well, my child doesn't get food from their ethnicity and they're not.
Well, you don't get it at home?
Well, I was starting to,
Well, get rid of something else. Don't get rid of pizza.
So-
if you want to bring more ethnic foods in, then...
So this is where I was kind of the dickhead Teddy Panel
There's 100 and
was coming
something
out in my
different-
mind. Right. We brag about speaking 70 different languages. Are we going to start creating cuisine for each of these ethnicities?
Why don't we have food
Or
that's-
novel concept batch. Make your kids lunch.
Yeah.
If your kid wants an ethnic lunch, make your kids lunch. There's certain lunches my kids don't want to eat at the Hellenics. So you know what? Riley and I wake up every morning and we prepare their lunch for the day they don't want to eat
Well, you can
pizza.
stir up traditional American food to help acclimate the...
No, we can't do that.
Because traditional American food now includes things from a bunch of cultures.
Pasta.
Exactly. Traditional American food is a melting pot of food.
Yes.
Like
Yeah.
it really is. I mean, what do you get? I don't, oh God.
No.
Well, standard American fare would be what? A
Pizza?
cheeseburger, a hot dog, all that stuff.
Pasta.
Pasta's
Pizza.
Italian.
Not anymore. Burritos. I consider like that's it's like there's a lot of.
Well, if we're going to go to food from every one of the languages spoken in the city, I am pushing for pasticho or moussaka.
I don't think it's a bad idea
Boiled
to
dinners?
have. I don't think it's a bad idea to have like a rotating a day where like it's a different ethnic food and you're learning about different cultures, ethnicities. On like every Tuesday is going to be a new different ethnic
Nigerian
food.
Isn't the
goat is
point to
delicious.
feed the kids? Isn't the point to have the kids eat food so that they're not hungry in a 6-hour school day? Like I remember when,
Yeah, you can do that.
I like
when
that idea,
Michelle
though.
Obama
Let's do it.
headed this whole thing about healthy, nutritious food in school.
And now she's pushing sugar water.
And I'm told that
It's true.
I know.
the garbage barrels were full of uneaten kale and healthy foods that kids don't want to eat. How about we just let kids eat? And then we can worry about health afterwards.
I mean,
No, there's a conscious choice of what they're eating. So I think making it healthy, because they're expected to sit at a desk and learn. You don't want to pump them full of like hockey puck cheeseburgers.
we all learned to eat
you can-
fish sticks, those
you can-
plastic things, and sloppy joes.
but you can eat that stuff and not have it be terrible for you. Like you don't have to
Yeah.
full of MSG and
Yes.
corn syrup. But like
Yes.
that's kind of
Just as long as there's no peanuts in it.
oh yeah.
Can't have peanuts in it.
No, that's right. Yes. I have food for you guys.
You do. So
Yeah.
while Michaela unveils the food,
Oh, it might be a little bit melted, but
funny text conversation
Ooh, what's this?
ensued this morning.
these are my healthy peanut butter cups.
Oh, these look good.
They
Oh,
are
they
good.
do look good.
So there's grape nuts on the bottom. You have to like yeah.
Oh, these are neat.
Hopefully they
what-
come
what is
out.
this
Oh,
our
they're a
cup
little
made
bit.
out of, by
They're a
the
little
way?
bit melted. Darn
Yeah.
it.
What is this cup made out of, by the way?
Silicone.
Silicone. Okay.
Yeah,
Oh, like
yeah.
you would get some breasts?
Yeah, we should have done this at the beginning. 'cause
Oh,
they're,
no.
they're a little bit melted, but you can still eat it. It's going to be a little messy.
So Michaela texted us to tell us, hey, I've got snacks.
Because I was
for
late.
you
I was running
guys, 'cause
7
she was
minutes
running
late.
behind, but she was going to make it up to us by bringing in snacks. And then she made the mistake of asking the question.
Did you have peanut
Are
allergy?
either of you allergic to peanuts? And Batch beat me to
I
the
knew
punch
when I asked you. I was like,
by about
it's a simple
5 seconds.
question.
But what did you say, Batch?
I says no. I was born out before 1980.
You could not bring these into a school anymore.
Well, that's why I asked, and I knew I was going to get hit with a smart comment afterwards.
I want to eat this, but it's.
I know, we can eat it
is
later. I
messy, huh?
know. They're usually frozen.
Oh,
So that's why. So they were frozen.
I don't know. It
They
looks
smell
real
delicious.
So you basically filled up the bottom of the
It's grape.
silicone cup.
It's grape nuts and dates on the bottom, and some coconut
there's
Oh,
dates
oil.
there's stuff underneath.
So it's a peanut butter cup, but with crunchiness. So it's
But is there
dates.
peanut butter in it?
So there's peanut butter, protein powder, oat flour, and flax in the peanut butter, but you can't taste it. It tastes like
And dates?
dates are on the bottom with grape nuts.
I love
Did
dates.
you know that
crunchy.
dates are the favorite food of cannibals?
What?
Yeah, cannibals. They're always eating their dates.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
That's almost as good as you. That's
You guys
almost.
need some new jokes.
That's almost as good as your doctor joke. That one's my favorite.
You guys need some new
You
jokes.
can't tell that one, but that's a great joke.
One of these days we'll tell it. But
Army
thank you,
Hammer.
Mick. This is.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Sorry they're not frozen, but you're going to love them. They are delicious.
I can't
Is
wait.
this the Hondros hug?
No, that's the.
We get
no.
a treat.
What's the?
and a
There's-
Hondros
Oh,
hug?
there's a
I'm
treat.
ready for the Hondros hug.
Okay, the Hondros hug's like a little. So the Hondros hug's a little like duh, Michaela. So I have a Hondros hug and like a funny tip. So the Hondros hug is just instead of the whole way that this came about. There's a picture of like the Masters, and I guess and everybody like watching the like championship whatever happened the when he hit the ball in the hole, and so. And I guess they don't.
Wait, hold on. There's nothing funny there when you hear Michaela describing sports. It's
The championship and when he hit the ball in the hole.
no, it's great. Like the football-y, the football-y
game,
thing,
foot game.
the foot game. Anyways, go ahead.
So I guess were you not allowed to bring like your cell phones into the Masters or something? Because nobody in that picture had their phone out. Everybody was just like looking and like seeing.
Oh, that's a good question.
So it was like interesting because like in so many sporting events or crowd things, like you have everybody like this,
Oh,
and
yeah.
nobody's like watching it, whatever.
right, everybody's recording it.
Right. So my Honda hug is just
It's the same thing
you
with
know,
accidents.
Right. Yeah. Well, I know. And then you have lead to more
It's the
accidents.
same thing at protests.
It's crazy. Yeah. But anyway, so, we've got the Easter's coming up. We've got cookouts happening, more family getting together, more like soccer games, whatever outside. I would just encourage people to take a moment before whipping out your camera and like your phone, whatever. Take a moment to take a mental picture and like do it like on purpose, like do it deliberately. Just say, I'm taking a mental picture, like this is a really nice moment, and just say it to yourself for a second, and then maybe take out your camera because it's a nice thing to like be in the moment.
That's a good.
So I'm going to tell you something.
Yeah.
That's why you and I are kindred spirits, even though we're political opposites.
Yes.
But I'm born in a generation where we didn't have peanut allergies. We could actually eat peanuts.
We only had 5.
You didn't just snap out a picture. You made like mental images. And whenever I go somewhere, my wife from a different generation, right? She's like, we don't have any good pictures of ourselves or whatever. I'm like, I don't need a picture. It's all up here.
It's
like,
nice to
I've
have
got,
the pictures too.
Yeah,
but-
it's great, but you know what?
Yeah.
My wedding day, I don't need to look at the pictures or even, look at that video. I got,
I have a great
it's
one.
all
on your
mental
wedding day.
images there. The pyramid.
the pictures.
The pyramid.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
got one of Riley drinking a beer. There's a couple ones we posed for, but still, what I've noticed is that because the people were always taking photos, like in the last 10 years, whatever. Like, we went out last week to the tuna strike, and we took one
On a
picture.
day when it was like 20 degrees with wind chill.
Yeah. And what we do now is like we'll take one picture, like the
And then
four
you're
of us,
done. And
we're
then you're
done.
like, let's enjoy the moment.
And
I like that a lot, actually.
And it was like we took two like one of the girls obviously has to take 5 pictures, but she only did 2. So like every
I love
time
that,
we
actually.
take a picture at the same place. We're down to like 1 picture per night. And
I love that.
It's almost like, oh, you're having a good time because you're not sitting there.
You're not sitting on your phone taking pictures.
I like
recording
that.
it all the time. Yeah, I haven't.
It's a good.
It's nice to have the pictures. The pictures are great for the memories and to look back, especially when you got like kids growing up and like, it's great. But like, yeah, mental images stick with you too.
Take the time and to
See through
enjoy
your
the
eyes,
moment,
not
right?
through
Well,
the
you know
phone.
what was good too. So we were at for the Greek prince's birthday on Sunday.
Uncle Batch scored an invite to Ari's birthday.
That's when you know.
Well, I get invited to a lot of things I usually make it. The Masters was on, right?
Yeah.
And so everybody was engaged.
Is that thing where the guy hits the ball
with the volley thing? With
There's
the
a racket involved.
puts
Oh,
it in
no,
his
no.
Gopher hole or whatever it is.
But it was good to be in a room with a bunch of people that, like, we were all on that, talking about that, but it wasn't like a bunch of people just sitting on there.
Everyone was collectively engaged in one screen instead of a bunch of
But it was like a
screens.
multi-age kind of thing. And
That's
like
cool, yeah.
for the most part, except for checking like, gambling apps, people were really tuned into what was going on. I'm wondering if that, like the phone, the pictures, if that's starting to fade a little bit because people are doing what you're saying. Like it's trying to be in the moment. a
Maybe
little bit
people
more.
are tired of, yeah.
I hope so.
Because people are way more aware of their like having a more positive social footprint because it comes back and haunts people all the time.
That's true. That's true.
That's a great Honduras song.
Well, so then I thought that was going to be a weak Honda hug, but you guys really liked it. And I just have I have a tip, and you guys are going to laugh at this. So there's this card I have with a number on it. This is like, so the summer's happening, you know, some people may have like some pounds they want to shed. I'm one of those
Why
people.
are you looking at Batch and I when you say that?
No, I'm saying, you know, this is like an experiment, right? So I guess it's like a CIA hack. I saw this on like online, where if you write the number down 4812412 on a piece of paper, and you put water on top of it, a glass water jar, and then you drink the water. And while you're drinking the water, you say like, you know, you like feel the water. You say like, you know, I release any unneeded pounds, right? And if you drink the water and like you know whatever, like, and you believe, it will happen.
Really?
Let me take a picture of that.
So
I'm gonna go get a couple gallons of water.
So it's whatever water. It's a jar. You put the jar over the number.
No, I need the number.
4812412.
Will my Washington Savings Bank coffee mug work as well? Because I have water in there.
No, it needs to be a clear.
It needs to be a clear glass.
Oh, really?
Maybe that's why.
That was a CIA trick.
It's a CIA hack.
So once you're done, do you go overthrow a government?
Maybe it's doing something else that I don't know.
You shouldn't be doing that.
You go turn a college protest violent. That's what happens.
I know. We'll see what happens.
The next Sustainability Council is going to be excellent.
I know.
Michaela Hondas McCarthy, Mike Bacigalupo, Batch and the Hyphen. Thanks so much for joining me, guys. Happy Easter weekend.
Yes,
to you.
for everyone.
Thanks for coming on in. You won't be here your next day, May 2nd, but you will be here May 9th.
Yes.
All right, we're going to do something special on May 2nd anyway. We're going to do some horse racing.
Ooh,
We're going to
nice.
give away some ponies.
Nice.
Special guests Leslie Boder, Keith Rudy, and John Dakota. Maybe we can get John Dakota to wear his cowboy
Some of my
boots.
favorite people. That'll be fun.
We'll get John to wear his cowboy boots. You got that, John? Thank you to Batch. Thank you to Michaela. Thanks to you as well for tuning in on this Big Fun Friday edition of the Daily Pulse. Another week of the Daily Pulse in the books. We'll be back next week. Kick off a brand new week on Monday. We got Lowell City Councilor Corey Robinson joining us. Lowell City Councilor Kim Scott and former Mayor Bill Samaras will be here on Wednesday. We've got Matt LaLatcher making his Daily Pulse debut on Thursday, the original victim of the Panos bump. The candidate, Matt LaLatcher, he'll be here. And then Leslie Boder will be here as well. So full week of things to come. Till then, everybody stay safe. Enjoy your weekend. Happy Easter. Kalo Pascha to everybody who celebrates out there. And please stay safe. We'll catch you on the other side.
Oh my God, that's delicious.